Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and I wanted to do a quick live, really quick, about a live I'm doing on YouTube and on highvibe.tv with my official presidential predictions for this 2020 presidential race. I've made a lot of predictions, and there's a lot of people out there right now in the astrology world that are putting up the database of what astrologers are saying what, and because I have so many different videos and to cut them all it would just be weird. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I will be doing the live, but I just wanted to, well, just doing this because I was going to do it tonight, but the energy honestly just didn't work out. I mean, void off course, moon in Pisces, Venus in opposition to that is moving to Libra. Mercury retrograde out of Scorpio back into Libra. My Pluto, scored my Sun. It was definitely not the easiest of days. But what I'm really going to cover is not only just like the typical understanding of how most astrologers, I would say, make their predictions. Of course, we're going to be like looking at the charts of the different candidates. That's something that, of course, that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it in my own unique style. It's like, for example, like most of the time you're going to see, something where it's just like, well, let's see how that works. There we go. So, behind the great Oz, right? That's what's going on with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. So, like, here's Joe Biden's chart, and look at like, I'm having one of those days. Just even the crop's off. Even the crop is off. So, like, that's Joe Biden's chart. Of course, we all know he's a Scorpio. He's got that Sag rising. He's got the Sun-Venus conjunct, that one's kind of an interesting one to me. I'm running him in Placidus at the moment right now. And, it's an interesting battle between Joe Biden and Trump. If we take a look at, let's throw Trump on top of, Biden, right? So, Trump actually sits as a Gemini, which is kind of interesting to see here, with his North Node, Uranus, of course. Biden's got Saturn there. Saturn-Sun connections are not the funnest. At least for me, I have Saturn in Scorpio. So I love Scorpios, like work-wise, and then relationship-wise, like love-wise, that could be really weird. But I'm going to be going way deeper into this. I'm not going to reveal it all. Some people know some of the stuff I've been doing right now with the Hermetic alchemy and putting together, like being a code breaker. Hence, like a lot of you all are seeing me, like I thought it would be interesting to put a background with the Masons and George Washington. And by the way, I got Georgie right there down the hallway. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be so many different angles that I'm going to take this, because I don't want to give away it all, but I do want to say, as a little pre-show, let's just have some fun. We'll look at each person's chart. I'm not going to go into predictions tonight. Tomorrow is going to be the big show, so make sure that you subscribe by hitting the bell so you know when we're going off. If you're not a High Vibe member and you're not getting the notifications, you can download the app and still get the notifications for free. It's a free app just to get the exclusive content, but there's tons of free content on there. Make sure that you get that. So let's have some fun real quick, and let's see what we got going on here. So let's start with Joe Biden first. He seems to be the one that's ahead in the polls and so forth. It's quite interesting to me because we are dealing with a Scorpio during Scorpio time, right? During this election. And it's a Mercury retrograde from Scorpio, but now back into Libra. Now, I'm running him in Placidus. So the ruler of his midheaven is Virgo, which is Mercury. And so Mercury will be retrograde. And in Libra, in his 11th, you know, I mean, you can kind of go into. People are trying to understand this guy still. Um, and I would say that, you know, he's got good aspects with Jupiter that's been a nice trine to that midheaven if we're running it in Placidus. But if I take him out of Placidus real quick and we run him into equal. Where am I at right now? Here we are. Let's just create a new chart. Still got Virgo, of course, as the midheaven, but 3 degrees, and that Mercury retrogrades out of his 12th, and now in his 11th. It's been interesting, though, that the most weird kind of stuff's been going on with him, with his communication, and people trying to understand him more so during this Mercury retrograde in his 12th, and even going into his 11th. Remember, though, that the day of the election, Mercury is going to go direct. He's an interesting guy. He's born right before the full moon apex, but he does have a moon in Taurus. In equal puts it in his in 5th house here, but it would be, you know, if you were to understand, if we were to use whole sign, it's a 6th house moon. Although I see him in the way he does corn pop and he likes to make jokes. I can definitely understand and see a lot of the things and how that moon in Taurus exalted likes to have fun and, you know, play around. He also has Uranus there at 2 degrees of Gemini, which I think is quite interesting to me. Because if we look at his Uranus, it makes a nice trine to Neptune. But that's his 4th house ruler, and then that's with his 3rd house ruler. So, I mean, he definitely likes to kind of take that communication about his hometown, the way that he does that. And it seems to really work really well for him. He has been dealing with Uranus squaring his Pluto, and Pluto, of course, being his 12th house ruler. And that's where Uranus is heading. So if we actually run the transits right now, and, you know, I'm going to be doing a lot of this more in depth tomorrow, but I just kind of want to have some fun real quick. There's Uranus at 8 degrees. It's starting to square his Pluto. He's born with Pluto retrograde. It's actually interesting what we could do. We could do a little chart explorer here. We can look at his Pluto. He's not having Pluto go direct this life unless he makes it to 148 years old. So, not going to happen this life with that. But he does have a big stellium there in the 12th house. And, you know, I'm born with that stellium, but I'm also born with that stellium in the 12th house in Leo, but it's with a Leo rising. He's got a rising that's separate from the sun. And this is just coming from personal experience. I'm just going to be real with everybody. It tends to be people who, and I'm just going to do this, I'm going to say it. The spirituality is the only way through, okay, this life when you're in 12th house. Or you just go into just crazyville or really weird hidden shit, of course, we all know in 12th. But when the rising's separate, it kind of makes people of a sun in the 12th house, nature, very, like you know there's a soul there, and you know, but you don't really get to feel it fully. There's just something kind of off on that. And I say that, I know I've done so many clients in my life that you know, it's a little bit harder because the ego and the soul are in different places, and that soul and that ego are pretty much at a weird, you know, kind of odds in place. The other interesting thing to note, if we run it on equal here, is the sun just went into his 12th house, right? Which rules his 9th house, which is where Pluto does sit, which Uranus is ready to square here. So if we come back to it again, you guys, North Node in the 7th house right now, transiting. That Venus retrograde went through there. It's interesting. I wonder what he was doing in 1996, because, you know, that transit just finished, and there's a lot of things about his chart, his nodes, for example, The North Node in Virgo and the South Node in Pisces. That one's getting me because he's in a nodal square. He also, you know, there's something odd about his chart here. He's got some great placements. I'm not gonna like down his chart, but it's definitely not, I guess you could say, as lively, which might not be a bad thing. He does have Jupiter rising, which is great, and he has an exalted Jupiter. So it's definitely not a chart to just say, oh, he's weak. It's just different. You know, Trump's just very alive, right? Energetically, just like wham. And we see that in Biden, but it's in moments where it's like Trump seems to be able to do it while he's on his golden bath, or his golden, what do you call it? The toilet, probably yelling at the toilet paper. If we take a look real quick here and we go to Biden's scores of his essential dignities, you know, his Jupiter is a +4. He's got that Mars in Scorpio too. That's dignified. It's kind of interesting here. His Venus is at -1 because it combusts the sun. And his sun's not really well placed either. And it's in the 12th, and it's with that Venus. So Venus is being burned out pretty intensely, you know. Mercury at 21, so he's got Jupiter and Mercury coming together in a nice place, and Mercury does rule his 10th house. Jupiter is the ruler of his chart. He does have Jupiter that transited his first house, and it's in his second house. So he's got a lot. I'm not going to lie. Like, Biden's got a lot of good things going for him in this chart. The only thing that I would say is the weak spot is that Uranus starting to square Pluto in retrograde. With Uranus, of course, being the ruler of his third house and his mind. And that's one thing that a lot of people are questioning is his mind. And with the 12th house ruler, Pluto in the 9th, yeah, is his mind actually there? That's all connecting with psychological, you know, and kind of a lost element. He loves to talk about the past. I'm a 12th houser. I love talking about the past too, so I relate with that very much. There's definitely something here that's a little bit funky though. Trump's going through funkiness too, so I'm going to show that next. But I just want to say that with North Node Chiron conjunct, I have that too. It never feels... he's going to come off odd. Like I do, you know. Although his is in Leo, and then his North Node is in a different sign, Virgo, which is another Mercury-ruled energy with the Sun-ruled energy. And he's got both in the same house, the Sun and Mercury, and he's got the Sun and Mercury in the 12th. I mean, I'm not trying to give everything away, right? I'm just trying to have some fun real quick. But it is an interesting chart. It's definitely an odd chart. It's not... There's something odd about both Trump and Biden. Let's have some fun here, and we will switch it to Trump real quick. Because I'm going to go way deep into this tomorrow. I just am just kind of saying, like, overall, I just want to tell you all, there's something weird about this election. I've been saying this since day one, and I will continue to own that no matter how much, like, this is not going to be, okay, which astrologer predicts based upon just, like, who wins. Yes, I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to present tomorrow extreme cases of history, alchemy. I'm going to use all the systems. I'm going to show everything. I'm going to build a case for you, and I'm going to give very intricate and very detailed predictive elements to everything that's going to happen. Because there's so many layers to this, and there's so much that 2020 already has been, and we are dealing with a Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto time, that this is not going to be what anybody thinks it's gonna be, right? It just won't. So I just want to remind people that one, no matter how much it's tried to be said. So let's take a look real quick here. With Trump, of course, he's that lunar eclipse baby, born pretty much right there at the apex when it was really there. Although it's interesting because he's born in the middle of the day. If you actually understand, he's a day chart. That means you didn't see the lunar eclipse. So he is, of course, that Leo rising with Regulus, and he's got Mars there. And that's, in old, especially medieval astrology, I mean, you got to remember, and I've said this in my 2016 predictions, like, go look up your ancient astrology books, folks. No matter who has got the alignment of Leo rising on Regulus seems to win, no matter what. Win any battle, and especially if they're connected to spirit. It seems that Trump's really connecting to that aspect a lot more than Biden is lately. But Trump's got his issues, right? Like, Trump's, of course, getting ready for Neptune to square his sun exactly in 2021. Neptune already started squaring his nodes, while the nodes are returning during this election for him. This is definitely going to be potent, and it's going to be extreme. He's an extreme person, but if you notice about his chart, he does have that weird aspect. And what I'll do right now is I'll go into advanced crop, and I'll do this too to kind of bring things more into solidarity here, so you can see better. But what really gets me, and then I'm going to do this so we can go a little bit closer. Okay, so have you ever noticed how Trump's just always about what's fair and what's not fair? Well, that Jupiter-Chiron conjunct for Trump in Libra there is a big deal, and it squares a Saturn. I mean, this guy emotionally feels like he never gets the fair end of the stick, ever. Okay? And this is what Jupiter's been squaring. This is what Pluto was squaring at the beginning of the presidency for him, or coming into it. He's also got Juno there too, which is, it's kind of weird. Like, of course, he definitely has very odd partners, right? I mean, like, the First Lady's odd for him. All his relationships have been very odd. Even the people he associates with in the White House are odd. But he's got that Jupiter there that he wants to, if he feels like they need help, or that they need like some sort of, I don't know, that he almost likes people the most who feel like they've been mistreated the most to relate with him. And then judge-wise, I think it's interesting how, he's got 3 Supreme Court justices that went through in his first term as a president. Jupiter and Libra. Yeah. It's interesting, too. He's going through a lot on this election day because not only is Mercury going to stop at 25 degrees, and that's going to be right there on his 3rd house line. I'm using him in Placidus. Oh, no, we're right now in Porphyry, actually. Let's move him to equal. Because, I'll show you his, for all fairness, we'll go to his Placidus first. It's like, create a new chart. So Mercury's going to be retrograding his 3rd house Placidus-wise, and he has an interception in his chart, which is Cancer and Capricorn. And I think that oh, wait, I got to extend this out. I always forget to do that. Take 3. Let's bring this. Okay. This is going to be really odd because Mercury's going to square his Saturn and Venus on election day. Venus rules the 10th house in all, no matter what you use. But that Cancer Capricorn interception's hard. The reason why, especially I see. So if we see right here, he's got no house that's defined in Cancer, and he's got no house that's defined in Capricorn. So it's interesting. He's in politics. It's interesting the blending of home and work being really weird, and it's in his 5th and 11th house. Like, these are places that he enjoys very deeply to play around with, and bring a lot of attention emotionally into the world and people. I mean, this guy is definitely about dealing with lots of issues, and whether they're positive or negative with people. Trump also as well has had his Pluto squared by Uranus, and Pluto for him rules his 4th house, whereas for Biden it rules his 12th. Both are dealing with end. Both houses deal with endings. Different ways of looking at them. But for Trump, Uranus rules the 7th house. So, it's going to be quite interesting when I show you guys what I have to show you all. I would say that Trump's chart overall, to be fair, let's go look at his sheets and we'll just take a look at Trump, right? So Trump has Jupiter as his +6. The ruler of his chart is the sun. It's at +1. So actually, the ruler of the chart for Biden is stronger. Trump's Mercury's not too well. -5, based off position. And then Venus is +5 for Trump, which is his career ruling planet, and that would be also rule politics and so forth. That's really well strong. His Venus there with Saturn especially, which Saturn for him is also a place that kind of neutrals itself out because it's in Cancer, but it's in the 11th, which kind of brings it back up because of course that's the house of Saturn for the Aquarian side of things. But both candidates are not going through, I would say, really positive times. And that's what really makes this very weird. I will say, if we want to have some real fun here, because it's just kind of a pre-show, and I'm going to be honest with you all, I am tired. I had a long day. I have been pushing out mad content, so I'm not even in that Leo King. This is just the pre-show, having fun, wanted to come live, chill with y'all. Looking at the chat right now. And I know I want to say this because this is something that I'm doing as an astrologer because it is what I do. That's part of my job. Everybody's going to get in the chat, and I get it. You're going to say, well, who cares about Trump? Who cares about Biden? Don't, blah, 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 blah. Let's all just, when I do this tomorrow, and while I'm finishing this right now, let's just be hermetic for a second. Surprise nobody. I haven't read the chat yet, though. People are probably like, this motherfucker, is he got all this Mason shit behind him? You know what I mean? It's to make you guys start to see things a little bit differently about how this all works, okay? I remember that the country was founded on by a lot of Masons. Not all of them, but the first president was. So let's get hermetic about it, and let's not get emotional. Let's look at the dark and the light of both sides of both people. That's going to be now, but mainly tomorrow in my show, what I'm going to do. I think that's going to be so important for people not to start tripping out and getting mad at each other in the chat and starting to get all crazy political. We already see that enough. We've already seen that fucking forever. So I'm just asking for that. So let's get back to this real quick. So we're going to move. We're going to also add Biden here. And I think what I'm just doing for fun here is we're going to run a composite chart here. Put both of them together. Looky here. We got a sun at 10 degrees in Virgo, 15-degree Mercury with Black Moon Lilith. Got Chiron at 21. Neptune opposed Chiron. That's going on right now. The moon's in Aquarius in the 5th. North Node quincunx the moon. South Node in Capricorn. You know, it's interesting that when the nodes we just finished on May 5th, this is pretty much when we figured out, when they finished, that we were dealing with these two. They got Jupiter and the Sun too in retrograde, so it's kind of interesting to see that. Like, especially with Jupiter, it's going to trine both their chirons as together, right? We're looking at their composite. We're looking at their midpoints and how they come together. I'll run their Davis in here in a second, but they got that Mars Neptune with 3 degrees. The solar eclipse of the one that was with the South Node in Capricorn, that was Christmas of 2019, squared both their soul together's Mars Neptune, which has brought all of us on this pretty crazy journey. That these two coming together have brought us on a definitely very weird, kind of divisive and again, look at like Eris is in opposition to that, chaotic, 12th housey, where is everything going? Like, I can say that with both of them combining their charts. Nobody even knows. If you want to be honest, let's just be honest. Like, nobody knows what these two are both up to. And the weird stuff that's going on behind all this stuff. I'm going to just say that. These two, whether you want to get all weird on me or not, because I haven't got to the other layers of everything. Remember, this is just the pre-show. Looking at this, and especially Venus being the ruler of their chart, Libra rising, and Venus is in Virgo, it's detriment, or it's at fall position, and it's in the 12th house. These two have all the same friends. Start putting it all together. Start looking at the past of both of them. They both have come across very similar entities that have been in major stories. There's something off about both of them as a soul when I look at this chart. And the North Node in the 10th house at 25 degrees of Cancer. And guess where Pluto's about to come at the beginning of this year? It's going to come on their South Node in the 4th house. Using this, it's definitely not. That's why I keep saying it's not going to end up the way that they both see it, and I don't think we're all going to see what we are expecting to see. And I know everybody continues to think I'm crazy by this, but this video. I'm just kind of just remembering people to wake up to that for a second and to step out of all the noise, all the extreme stuff that's going on politically right now, which it's extreme. Let's not lie. It's extreme. And Uranus exactly squares their sun. I can't believe... when I look at this chart, I just go, really? I mean, these are definitely the times we're in. I mean, let's take a little closer look at things here. So there's their sun at 10 degrees of Virgo, and it's exactly squared by Uranus at 10 degrees of Gemini. The Venus retrograde covered all this stuff from especially May and June and July and August, right? And that was when we started to know their rally up. But it was like the people didn't understand who these what was it going to look like with these two. These two are an odd combo already, being a composite of a Virgo sun, Moon in Aquarius with Libra rising. These two like need each other in many ways. It's almost like it wouldn't have worked for either one of them to even get this far if it wasn't that. It was like funny too how Trump wanted to run against Biden. You know, and Biden says that he ran to come against Trump. At the end of the day, we're dealing with some people here that are definitely not really well aspected either way. That's just the truth. I mean, Trump is the president, and he's having very hard aspects transit-wise to his ruler of his midheaven by Saturn, opposing his Venus, and Pluto on its way, and Jupiter on its way. And he's dealing with Pluto opposing his Saturn, which rules his 6th house. But look at that. He's got an intercepted house system, and that house system is Capricorn and Cancer. He's dealing with the South Node on his moon, his 12th house ruler. But in Placidus, it's missing. So Trump has that like weird. I don't want to use that term Trump card because it is weird. By having those interceptions and by having the planets that, you know, typically, and this is where I like Placidus, and I know that there's a lot of astrologers out there who do not like it and will not use it, and especially in the astrology community. But, you know, I like it. You know why? Because it gets that weird shit. Shows those soul issues. But it also shows you where there's like hall passes. And Trump has that hall pass with Saturn and the moon. So even with the South Node on his moon, even with Saturn opposing his Venus, Saturn opposed Saturn. Saturn quincunxes Mars right now. Well, you could use Aquarius, rules the 6th house that way if you want to. You can use the 7th house. I mean, but there's something about that Capricorn Saturn because it's Capricorn intercepted and Cancer intercepted. And his moon at 21 is having Neptune that's been squaring it. It's not the ruler of a house. Neither is Capricorn. One thing that Trump does have going for him, with having a good Venus, and with Venus, what we can do here is, and then we'll do it for Biden real quick, and then I'm done. I'm going to be done with this, and I'll see you all tomorrow, and I'm going to be crazy Leo King style. Let's look at the transit of Venus here over this next couple days, right? So as we come into, let's say, the day before the election, November 2nd, he's got Venus. Venus will be transiting at 6 degrees of Libra, but it's going to be squaring his Mercury, right? And that could be kind of frustrating. Might not look the way that he wants it to look. And Mercury retrograde is with his Mars. One thing that Trump has going for him too is Mars is in Aries, and he has a Mars and a rising and a Pluto, and his midpoint between these two it is pretty much right there. It's not exact, but it's hitting his midpoint of his Pluto and Mars, and he has Pluto and Mars are very Martian, right? They're very Scorpionic. So there's definitely a little bit more umph that Trump has at the moment. And technically, if we're using Placidus, Trump's still dealing with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. He's having a good old time, right? And then Saturn this year came to 1 degree, right? And then it went retrograde, and that's exactly where his 6th house starts. So he hasn't even entered into the 6th house yet with Saturn. He doesn't even know what it feels like yet. So Trump's kind of having a good old time, but Venus as well, you have to remember, will be opposing his Eris and Joe Biden and Trump's Eris in their composite. And then Venus is going to be on Trump's Neptune. And Trump also, if we run his progressions, has already had his progressive moon. That's one thing I want to see about Biden again. It had been a while since I'd run it, but let's just do it real quick. But that Venus is Trump's ruler of his career house. It's in his 2nd house. it is making a bad aspect to his Mercury, which is his second house ruler, that the ruler of that house. So that's kind of weird, but it is a dignified Venus. Also, you have to understand with Trump, Venus in his zodiacal releasing, which I can show you right here, in his Hellenistic astrology, he is in a, if I'm right, in his perfections, he is in his Venus here in Libra. Okay? So, don't, when Trump got CV, guess what happened? It was Venus, the very end of Leo, the day it crossed the rising sign, he was at the hospital and everything seemed to be okay, and Venus kind of washed it out for him. He's in his perfection year of Venus in Libra, and Venus in Libra is going to be working around a lot of his stuff in his chart. But just saying that, these aren't even my predictions. I'm just like going to give you this is like hors d'oeuvres. I have some heavy stuff to show you all, but let's take a look at the progressed chart for him. Oh, that's right. They moved secondary progressions. All right, yeah. And we'll do it for, let's say, November 2nd, 2020. And we'll do it for, let's just do it for like noon. Oops. And let's do other, I guess we could do Washington, or I think it's District of Columbia. Yeah. It is. I'm assuming Trump will be there. She'll be at the White House, right? Mm-hmm. Let's calculate. So as you can see, and we'll get closer for some people because I know some people are, like, want to see more. So Trump's progressed new moon happened 14 months ago, a year and 2 months ago, which is pretty much around the time the impeachment stuff was going on, and it was a progressed, he was at the end of his lunar phase, right? So he was in his balsamic phase, progressed energy, and then went to a new moon, and he was able to get out of the impeachment, right? He was impeached, but he did not get taken out of office. So he's at 18 degrees the day of the election with the moon in Virgo, and that's starting to square his nodes, but it's not exact. That's 2 months away. His Neptune has gone direct. What year did that happen for him? Wow, 2 days old. His 8th house ruler. To be fair, we'll get out of Placidus real quick here, and we'll edit it for equal. And I don't run whole sign, because if you don't know how to do whole sign in your head, then don't call yourself an astrologer. So let's go back to that progression. 4 degrees is where his progressed sun is, and that's starting to square his Lilith in Sag, and that's where that progressed new moon happened. It was at 3 degrees. He's definitely believing what he wants to believe emotionally, and that's kind of his. Oh, we'll be back on there in a second. Hold on. Oh, there we are. Part of his lesson is to look at more of the factual stuff, but he has Uranus there. He's an oddball. Oh, look at that. Progressed moon square Uranus. That was definitely the curveball of him getting CV. I mean, literally, there it is. Right? if I expand it better, there you go. So I'm like looking around October 14th and so forth, right? Progressed moon squaring Uranus. That would be his health ruler in Placidus, and this chart would be his 7th house, and that's what I'm saying. Placidus has a lot to say. So Trump's in his progressed new moon phase, and he went through that as a president. So it's like some people might say he's shifted or he hasn't changed. I would say that since his progressed sun, I would say with the progressed new moon, I would say he's changed. Not fully, but he's definitely rewriting himself. Now let's look at Biden. It's been a long time since I've seen Biden's progressions. Well, we'll just do his natal. It doesn't really matter in this case. So Biden's progressed 16 degrees of Aquarius, and he had his progressed new moon. A little bit longer, but it's in Pisces with his Venus. Mercury, remember, is the ruler of his midheaven. It's in Capricorn, right where Pluto is coming. Second house. Venus quincunxing Pluto now. His progressed moon is exactly in quincunx to Pluto, his 12th house ruler. And Venus is his 11th house, the people, and his 6th house of health and his day-to-day life. And the moon's covering that around the election, 7 degrees. He's had that part of fortune, which definitely deals with the lunar side of things, last month. Finish. His Saturn went direct. Look at that. So, Saturn went direct for him at 77 years old. Wow. On February. So, look at this. 5 Gemini, right where Venus went direct. Okay, so watch this. You guys want to see some magic? Let's see when Joe Biden, Saturn went direct. Saturn in his chart is the ruler of his 2nd house. It's also the co-ruler of his 3rd. Let's see. This is some mind-boggling stuff. Wow, look at that. It happened September 12th. Let's see. Wow. It was when Venus was out of shadow and done. So Venus stopped on his progressed Saturn. So Saturn at 5. His Saturn went direct on September 11th, 2020. That's a big deal. And because we add the current transits of his of what's going on, so like let's get that, and then let's do this to the current transits. So if you see Biden's Saturn has come direct here, and I'll get a little closer for some people, but I like to show the dates all the way around. But here we go. We'll take it. We'll take you a little bit closer. We'll take you even a little bit closer here. Okay. So, and I'll take you real close so you can see. So this is what I'm talking about. When Biden was born in 1942, Saturn was retrograding at 9 degrees. So, literally, what I'm about to show you, oh, we have to get back to that, we need to get back to that September 12th. Okay, here we go. This is what I want to show you all. So, okay. Or September 9th. That's what it looks like. Okay. So see how Saturn been retrograding for 77 years. His progression. And then, bang. There it is. Comes direct. And it comes direct for him, looking at his secondary progressions up here. Around September 10th, September 9th right there. And it's in Gemini, which Mercury rules his midheaven. Using equal, it squares his midheaven and has changed directions. Although Saturn moving forward is a good thing. And the Moon and Venus in his progression are aligned in square with that, though. Owie mama, when that happened. So imagine this. Imagine having Saturn come direct in progression. It's a big deal when a planet changes from a retrograde to direct, or a direct to a retrograde, okay? Saturn's a long one. It doesn't happen to everybody, right? Because Saturn retrogrades for sometimes somebody's whole life and another life, right? Because understanding progressions every year that you're alive, you move the chart one day. So, it was 77 days after his birth that Saturn went direct. So that's very rare. And to have exactly the Moon and Venus, that means the day, which would have been September, well, he's born November 20th, Aquarius, 16 degrees. So 10 degrees is around January 29th, 30th, and then it's around February 5th, February 6th of 1943 is when the Moon and Venus conjuncted in Pisces and squared Saturn as it went stationary direct. So that's a big hit. And what we want to do, and this is where I'm just going to give you a little bit of a revealing, and we'll do this for Trump, and I have a lot of other ways to do a lot of this stuff. So let's see here. Let me do this. So let's go February 5th, 1943. What was going on in the world at that time? Of course, we were in World War II. So let's get back to this. Y'all still with me? You got people in here? Yep, 500 people in here. All right. You still with me? All right. So, what happened on February 5th? Amsterdam resistance group CS6 shoots Nazi general. Ooh. This would have been a rough day. And or February 6th. Remember, I'm doing this all in my head. How about we do this? 1943. Let's look at that February. In Russia, the Battle of Stalingrad comes to an end with the surrender of the German army. The 4 chaplains of the U.S. Army among those drowned with their ship. Lieutenant Frank Andrews is selected to command the U.S. armies in Europe, while General Dwight D. Eisenhower is assigned command in North Africa. Andrews will serve only 3 months before dying in an airplane crash. And the RCN Corvette HMCS Lunenburg is bombed and sunk off Oran, Algeria by an Italian aircraft. And then it could be the 7th, too. North Atlantic convey SC-118 is attacked by U-boats to sink 8 ships. In the United States, it is announced that shoe rationing will go into effect in 2 days. That's very Venus, Moon, square Saturn coming direct. Venus, Moon in Pisces. Rationing? Shoes? That's what that guy's living for the rest of his life. Some sort of rationing. It's not the most... I'm just going to be honest with you. Put it this way. As an astrologer, I wouldn't want that. I mean, I already was born with Venus square Saturn. I wouldn't want my progressed Venus and Moon conjunction to be with a Saturn direct square. Huh. Remember, he's born in 42. Which, of course, I don't know if you all know. So if you do it in your head, right? You know, that's the Chinese year of the snake. So he's a snake. We're in a rat year. Okay. Where Trump is born after the war, right? The year of America coming off after the war. So his whole energy and his progression of his life is different, right? And Trump's a rooster. Likes to talk a lot. And so Trump's progressed energy in Virgo would be August 26th of 1946. So in all fairness, let's take a look. And that's how I'm going to end it. And then we're going to go into some crazy stuff tomorrow. So August 23rd. To August 26th. Ben Hogan wins the PGA Championship. Different world. Different world. Helps you kind of understand the energy of how the two candidates operate, right? Like Trump's out playing golf all the time and kind of living that whole like everything's fine, America's fine, we made it through the shit storm, where there was a shitstorm going on in Biden's life when he was 77 days old. Trump was living in a whole different world, you know? I mean, if you just take a look at Trump's life, for example, and you start to look at this stuff closely, because he's born right here in the middle of June, you know, especially like let's look at like July. That would be well, I mean June, but literally July is through all of his progressed Sun in Cancer, nuclear testing going on. I think that's why people get all weird with him on the nukes. Look at that. An air gun bomb explodes in Jerusalem due to secretive talks between Jews and Britain to consolidate the state of Israel. That was on July 21st when the sun was at 28 degrees Cancer for him. It would have been definitely over 30 years ago, but you know, you have to remember like these are all the kind of events that if you want to really understand progressions from a different point of view, the energy that's going on and how it affects people. A lot of nuclear testing. But then, you know, like the year he gets elected, which is 2016, which is 4 years ago from now, which is was his progressed sun and his rising. And that would have been on, you know, August 22nd. And again, there's not much in history that was going on. It's like kind of just American golfer Ben Hogan wins the PGA Championship. If you just go to that day, you know, this is kind of Trump's energy as he won. And or that's where he's at now, but like that's where he's at now. Like he's just kind of in that place where Biden is in the rationing of the shoes, which if we just see if there's some pictures of what that looked like, it kind of gives you a better sense of just the two candidates and where they sit at in their lives, right? So it would have been February of 1943, and it was right here, and this is when the shoe rationing. So we can do the United States shoe rationing. Shoe rationing was announced in the United States in response to the shortage of leather during World War II. Citizens were restricted to 3 parts of new shoes a year until 1945. Did you know that? No wonder Trump's opposite. Trump wants to go celebrate and just go outside with the flags, like I showed you, Bob Hope, or who was that, Hogan, and then here's Joe Biden, who wants to ration things, and no citizens are restricted to 3 pairs of shoes a year until 1945. It's a good way to kind of end this segment. And the segue till I see you all tomorrow, where I'm going to go much deeper into all this. I'm just doing astrology. That's the thing. Is some people might be like, "Oh, well, you're just making up stories." I just went through a very basic process in astrology that I'm sure you don't see people do that shit online. I guarantee you it. Especially all these Instagram astrologers and all this fucking shit. They're all fucking, they suck. They don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm about to blow your guys' lids tomorrow, so make sure that you hit the bell so you know when I'm going to go live. You know me, I got a moon in Taurus, just like Biden, right? You never know when Biden's coming up. I guess I'm in my basement, hanging out with Georgie and the Freemason energy in my background, right? My freaking Leo in my little, red chair. But I just want you all to think about that for a second all. That's rough. So that's a rough time to be during this election in that progressed energy. Whereas, especially when the moon moves in a waxing progressed phase, when it goes into the next sign, you kind of, you definitely can have some great benefits, but it just hit his Venus. It just sextiled his part of fortune. And I guess that would be actually, I'm really interested now. I really want to see what the hell's going on with this. It definitely has me thinking with Joe Biden real quick. So Joe Biden is in his Venus here too. Okay, in his perfections. But I want to go to his part of fortune real quick, because that just got aspected, and that's quite interesting to me, actually. He's in Virgo. He's in Aquarius. And through the election, he's in Pisces with his progressed moons there. And he'll be in Leo, and that is going to be a peak day for him from his part of fortune point of view. And if you just look at his chart real quick, the part of fortune sits here in Taurus, 6 degrees, where Uranus is coming back towards. Interessante. And his Fedaria is in his Sun Mercury. Just started on September 28th in the 12th house. That's definitely exposing secrets and the stuff that's been going on that we're seeing. You can't deny that using astrology. I just am showing you that's happening. This table goes back more than 1,000 years. I mean, we're talking about really ancient astrology here. We're talking about even in Mesopotamia, Babylonian astrology was doing simple Fedaria tables like this shit. He's in his Sun Mercury. So, in his 12th, in Scorpio, and this started September 28th, and this is when we started hearing about all this stuff, and it doesn't end until March 3rd, and then he comes into his full moon cycle, and he was born on a full moon, so you got to remember that stuff. I don't see Joe Biden going that far if he is president. I'm not giving my prediction tonight. I'm just letting you know. His lifetime arcs, too. It's kind of interesting to see where he's at now. He's all the way right here, 2020, November. Trine Aries. Wow, he's going to 4 Leo. Trine is Aries. November 2020. But that's when he turned 78 on his birthday. Right now he's in the Ceci quadrant of Mercury. And then he's going to that Trine Aries, which definitely going to bring up some chaotic stuff here for him. Poor Leo's getting close to his Pluto as well. Let's look at his lot of spirit. He's in Virgo. He's in Cancer. 10th house ruler. Aries. Sag rising, 5th house. Mars is retrograde there. And he'll be in Aries again. So his Hellenistic astrology is not too bad. He's missing that. Look at that. Loosening of the bond happening for him. He would still be in office. Trump had his loosening of the bond. Right when he was president. So you have to go, okay. I'll come back here in a sec. You have to go, okay. So going to Trump's zodiacal releasing, look at his loosening of the bond, December 28th, 2017, when he's in office. Trump's in a peak period right now of Aquarius. Trump, during election night, is in Cancer and is in Scorpio peak period. Trump has no Scorpio in his chart. Trump has a lot of Cancer, though. Trump has no Aquarius. Trump has a lot of Cancer. His ruler of his career. It's all coming to a close, though, with Leo, but that's also his rising sign, 2025. And he's already gone through his loosening of the bond into a peak period. Where if you go to Joe Biden again, a lot of spirits definitely can deal with career aspects and like big life change stuff. So, they're both in. Well, actually, Joe Biden's in a peak period here of Gemini, which is the 7th house, and his Saturn that went direct. But squared, all that stuff progressed-wise. That's progressed-wise, but he has Saturn there. And he's, like I said, so if we go into this, and then we go into 20 Aquarius, and then we go into, I think it's Cancer he's in. Oh, no, it's going to be peak period of Sag. A lot of spirit. And then Aquarius. I would say they're pretty equal when it comes to their Hellenistic astrology. It was interesting, though. He's got, in his part of fortune coming up, it was the lot of spirit part of fortune that Trump had. We are not seeing that. For Joe Biden, he has not seen a loosening of the bond since he was 17 years old. March 20th, 1960. He'll get his other one when he's 101 years old. If he's been in politics for 47 years and he got it at 30, oh, is it 30? 17. He's still. That's why politics have never really worked out for him. Even though he's gotten some of the positions, it's like it doesn't work out because he's still that 17-year-old guy. And it'd be interesting to really look at what he was doing at 17 and what he was really doing, right? Because like based off this is not showing the best energy for that. Where Trump has got it already. So I'm not making no predictions tonight, but I appreciate you all listening to me. Tomorrow's going to be fun. So make sure that you, if you're on High Vibe, download the app. We send the notifications out. And then it'll be live free tomorrow on the app. And I'll be doing this here on YouTube. Make sure that you push that bell. I appreciate you all. A lot of weird stuff going on here looking at these charts. I mean, and that's the other thing, too, is that Biden's progressed North Node is with Chiron and Leo now at 26 on Trump's Mars. And Saturn square that Venus moon. Oof. And Mars at 7 is quincunxing that Saturn. His ruler, and he's got no Virgo and no Pisces. He's got, and with all that Pisces there, that's why he's lost. So I'm gonna just give you one thing, and I'll show you what I'm referring to. Is that I'm looking at the progress chart of Joe Biden, and he's an Aquarius rising with the South Node on his rising, the North Node in his 7th, the North Node in Chiron in his 7th, Neptune retrograde in his 7th. Saturn has now just come direct, and it is in square to his moon in Venus. He has an interception right now of Pisces and Virgo, and a lot of Pisces going on. And his Mercury's in the 12th, progressed. And Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, everything's in his progressed 12th house, transiting of his progressed chart. There's a lot going on here for both. So I just wanted to show you just some fun stuff. Have some fun tonight. Not take things so seriously. And show you that, I think we're dealing with two candidates that are pretty much a very equal thing, but I'm going to show you the different things that the reason why I'm going to call who I predict, if it's going to be a traditional election, would win. And then I'm going to show you a lot of other things that I have to do. I have to show people. It's mixing old esoteric stuff to current stuff now, to astrology, to Hermetic alchemy, to a lot of different flavors. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all for being part of the Leo King. I just redid my set here. I have so many sets here at the studios, but I wanted to have a set that really worked out for me, that I can just bang do lives like this again on YouTube and on the app, and just start going through stuff and having talks with you all about it. I'm not talking to the chat tonight just because, of course, it's political and all that stuff. Although I know we're done with that, so I just, I will pop out that chat so I can at least see it for a second here. But I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate it. Luck with that ugly thoughts, man. I don't know if that's to me or... So, no, set meaning like, I mean, just the way that I have all the computers set, yeah, it's a green screen. But to be able to do it and share stuff and be able to do the iPad, I'm not using the iPad tonight, but tomorrow I will. So, but I needed to redo a place that I can just show up and be there for you all. Just be like, bam. You know what I mean? So, here, this will be, you know what? Somebody said vote. And we had a big question on my Instagram. And I want to know what people think about this, because honestly, not many things like kind of, shake me in many ways or like kind of get my attention. But this did, and I want to get everyone's opinion, because it's definitely something that it was very interesting perspective. So tell me what y'all think about this. It was on Zero Hedge, but the war on populism will be finally over, and global cap will start to build back better. If you look at around the globe, if you want to call it the globalists, however you want to look at it, that it's building back better everywhere, and that's what Biden just came out with his Saturn direct. And why is everybody using the same thing? Is this does your vote really matter, or is, like I like to say, are elections selected, not elected? I would it would interest me to see what your guys' opinion is about that, because when you start seeing that everywhere, it's kind of crazy. Right? So, it's going to be interesting to see. A lot of people have a lot of different views, right? Of what's happening, right? So, we are going to cover about all that using all the stuff I've been trying to say. Not tonight, I didn't bring any of it up, but there's a lot. Just even take a look at my background tonight. Like, a lot more going on than you all know in the world and how it works. I love you all very much. Keep it high vibe. That's the best way to be. And see y'all later. Adios.